country where one of our basic principles, perhaps the most important principle, is equality under the law, that too many individuals, particularly young people of color, do not feel as if they are being treated fairly.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, joining us right now is our friend Kendall Coffey, a founding member of Coffey Burlington. And, of course, Kendall, the news that there will most likely be no charges here against the officer in the Ferguson shooting. And as far as the federal investigation conducted by the FBI and the DOJ for civil rights violations, are you surprised?
No, I'm not surprised. This had been signaled a couple months ago, actually, when there were reports quoting anonymous federal sources who appear to be the ones actually involved in the case or at the case level, indicating there wasn't enough evidence and nothing new has emerged. So I think this decision is not going to be a surprise to the certainly not to the law enforcement community or people that follow the Department of Justice closely.
They interviewed, supposedly the feds interviewed more than 200 people, audio, cell phone video, and you know, clothing, this and that, so all the forensics, all the evidence. And they would have had to have proven that basically that Officer Darren Wilson, you know, decided to shoot and kill Michael Brown because he was black, right?
Well, not exactly. I mean, that could be a basis of federal jurisdiction. But normally, for example, you remember the George Zimmerman case.
Right.
There, the feds did some investigation, but it was reported that they would have had to show some kind of hate crime, some kind of racial purpose in the shooting, which they didn't show. And, of course, there were no federal charges. That's because Zimmerman was a private person. When it comes to police officers who are part of the government, there can be a different standard if, in fact, the officer killed somebody knowingly killing somebody that should not be shot. If you've got that degree of intentionality, there can be a federal crime of civil rights. But it is a higher standard than the state laws for things that you and I are familiar with, such as manslaughter.
Right.
And so the feds would have actually had to prove more than the state authorities and the state grand jury concluded that they could prove in St. Louis.
Gotcha. And by the way, I don't think that George Zimmerman civil rights investigation is officially closed, to the best of my knowledge, is it?
It may not have been officially closed.
That's pretty bizarre. Let's move on to Sheldon Silver, the very, very powerful Speaker of the New York State Assembly, has been for 20 years, one of the most powerful Democrats, certainly in New York State, if not in the country. And he was arrested, accused of $6 million in bribery and kickbacks.
And it's got to be a stunning thing for New Yorkers. This guy was, the second most powerful person in state government. I mean, after the governor, is there a lot longer than any single governor. And yet, what is alleged by the prosecutors, by the feds of the Manhattan office, is that he was basically strong-arming people, shaking them down. For example, a doctor saying that you've got to refer your asbestos-linked or mesothelioma patients to this particular law firm, and if you do that, you're going to get some favorable state contracts or some state money. A pure classic shakedown extortion scheme is what's alleged here. Nothing terribly nuanced, and to the tune of this guy getting $3 million over a period of some years.
Yeah, that's very heavy stuff. It's not a bunch of bills in paper bags, but it certainly looks like the same thing in a different way. Kendall, always great to talk to you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me on, Steve.
My pleasure. Kendall Coffey, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, and, you know, driving in, living in New York, driving in, hearing the reports on the radio. I won't give you the call letters of the radio station because I'm sure they're not alone. I was begging for them to identify Sheldon Silver as Democrat. Democrat! Democrat! Not possible. They just won't say it.